Back with ET Now's India development debate. Straight to the second debate tonight. Then more skeletons are tumbling out of ICICI Bank's cupboard. A report in the Economic Times suggests that the country's largest private bank may have gold-plated bad loans worth $1.3 billion and has appointed a leading crime-detecting agency to probe the charges. While it is surely bad news for the bank's top boss Chanda Kochhar, who's on leave pending the clash of interest charges against her, what is interesting is a sudden change in the approach of the bank's management in dealing with whistleblower complaints.
Indeed. Now, one thing is getting clear. Chanda Kochhar's clout on the bank's board is clearly on the wane, and it looks like the management is not ready to take any chances, at least now. While the U-turn in ICICI Bank's approach to whistleblower complaint is surely welcome, it does raise some very serious questions as well. Do the fresh allegations shut the door on Chanda's comeback? How did the regulator, that's the RBI, fail to detect such gross violations at one of India's systemically important banks? And also, considering the high risks to the economy, isn't it time the government stepped up the vigil on ICICI Bank, which is considered excuse me, they're too big to fail? The fresh charges against ICICI Bank is a big topic of discussion and debate right here on the India Development Debate tonight. I've got Mr. R. Gopalan, former Secretary in the Department of Economic Affairs, and of course the former Finance Secretary as well. Sharesh Haribhakti, Chairman Haribhakti and Company LLB. I've got Swaminathan Iyer, Consulting Editor ET Now, and Ved Jain, former ICAI President. So thanks each one of you for joining us right here on the show, because this is an important matter. From mismanagement, it looks like we could be staring at a full-blown scam of sorts at ICICI Bank. Swami, let me begin with you. Is it fair to say that what started out as a conflict of interest case and perhaps violation on that account is now fast becoming what many will call a full-fledged banking scam?
Maybe so. I would say as of now, we just have allegations. There has long been a tradition in all banks, private sector banks as well as public sector banks, of the evergreening of loans. So to say, do you know ICICI was evergreening loans? And the answer would be, well, everybody did it. It was supposed to be part of the Indian bank culture. So at this point of time, the question that arises, was there something in ICICI that was illegal? Number two, was its behavior exceptional compared with the norms that took place? Number three, even if there was evergreening, at the end of it all, how much of that evergreening was successful? How much of it is going to result in a huge new NPA, which is going to impact the balance sheet? I find that the stock market still seems to have a reasonable amount of faith in ICICI. It has not collapsed the way some other things have done. So let us see how it goes. The charges are deep, the charges are substantial, but similar charges have been made against other banks. Let us wait to see how far this particular thing goes. The bank's reputation has already taken a knock, but I am reluctant to jump to conclusions on the basis of the whistleblower's allegations at this point.
Okay, Swami there saying let's not jump the gun on this particular case, striking a slightly cautious note. Mr. Gopalan, if I may come to you. Now, it's not just an issue of evergreening of loans, there's also a question of underreporting of loans or sort of wrongly reporting loans. Now, NPA gold plating, in some sense, these allegations raise far deeper questions about the credibility of the bank and its processes. A few weeks ago, we had the interim finance minister, Piyush Goyal, despite all the facts that have come to light, call it a robust bank with strong processes. But do these latest charges, in some sense, raise question mark on the institution as a whole? Because it's no longer an issue of just a conflict of interest, but seems far deeper.
Yes, there seems to be some governance issues. If whatever is being talked of turns out to be true, then I would say there is a serious governance issue, there is ethics issue in managing the bank. On the governance issue, one would like to know how well the independent directors have questioned various things, how seriously they have taken the audit committee reports, if there is an ethics committee report, and also risk committee report, how seriously they have gone through all those and examine it over a period of time. So, one would also like to look at how the independent directors have really conducted themselves in this bank. And obviously, there are people who are saying that, I mean, some of the, in many organizations, the MDs pick up independent director, they owe their position to the MD, and therefore, that there is bound to be some issues there. And obviously, the directors also have to evaluate each other, and how clear or how robust their evaluation of each others is also another issue. So, there are a lot of governance issues and ethics issues which are required to be looked into in this bank as far as the ICICI issue is concerned.
Okay, fair point indeed. A lot of governance and ethical issues involved there, and I think we'll be discussing that in fair amount of detail. But Shailesh Haribhakti is also right here with us, and Mr. Haribhakti, do these fresh charges now virtually rule out if there was any possibility of Chanda Kochhar making a comeback? Because this is a clearly misdemeanor, or this isn't clearly just a clash of interest. What we're perhaps staring at is gross violation. This could perhaps be a scam in the making.
Well, I would like to wait until the report is completed and we have a full picture of what really happened or did not happen. I think what we have heard is only that the probe has been announced and that the scope and the terms of reference are wide. And I think one should also view it as a reflection of the desire on the part of ICICI to preserve its institutional stability and perhaps improve it and strengthen it. And I think that's the context in which we should look at this whole thing and not jump to any conclusions about what might happen or not happen to Chanda.
Swami and Shailesh Haribhakti there saying that let's not jump to conclusion, let's wait for the report of the probe panel. Now there's two probe panels that are looking at various aspects of the alleged violations. A fair point indeed. Swami, let me toss that to you. Does this sort of in some sense signal the fact that her clout in the board is reduced considerably?
Without doubt, her clout has reduced. I mean, to begin with, everybody was backing her, the board was backing her, Kamath was backing her, and there was an impression that this whole thing will blow over. But now, step by step, the reputation of the bank has been lowering. Without doubt, I would say that she is in trouble. Without doubt.
Mr. Gopalan, you know, Chanda Kochhar is in trouble, and which is perhaps why we are seeing her clout reduce. Like Swami says, it's without a doubt now. But do you believe the kind of proactive measures or the kind of actions that we are now seeing the board take is all also on the behest of the new chairman? The previous one was too eager about a clean chit too early. The new chairman, who for all practical purposes, I mean, you know, you understand how things work, is New Delhi's man. GC Chaturvedi is a career bureaucrat. He's been, you know, appointed at the helm of affairs at ICICI Bank's new chairman. Is it all happening because of him? And many people will read this. Is this at the behest of New Delhi itself?
See, Girish has his own mind. He has a lot of values and knows how the banks are to be run. Therefore, I think he would have, looked into all issues and how things are proceeding at this point in time. Probably he would want to get over with this particular problem and see that and ensure that all issues are thoroughly debated, looked into, decided, and action taken. So, instead of waiting for one report after another after it comes, probably you would have thought that let us put all things across, let them get them inquired and take a decision as to what should be done based on the inquiry reports. So, I have a feeling that he has a urge to ensure that the banks comes out of trouble as fast as possible after going through all issues threadbare. And then trying to get trying to find out what really happened, and after that take necessary action as is possible, as is necessary to do. So, probably I have a feeling that Girish is more into accelerating the and to see that the bank is able to put this behind us as fast as possible, so that its business interests are not affected in the medium to long term.
Okay, the effort is being made by the new chairman to ensure it's business as usual and the bank's business interests are not affected. But Shailesh Haribhakti, again, you've joined us in several debates on this topic on ET now. Does this also raise serious questions about the conduct of the board led by Chairman M.K. Sharma? I mean, the fact that the board was in such a tearing hurry to give a clean sheet, not order any independent probe, not appoint any forensic auditor. Does this sort of also raise serious questions about the conduct of the board just a few months ago, led by Chairman M.K. Sharma, who's of course now retired from the board?
Well, I think if you look at it in retrospect, what you are insinuating may be a charge that might stick. But if you look at it as it was happening and as the board was viewing it, I think they had very different perspectives, as again I had mentioned in my earlier interactions with you, that they had conducted some inquiries, they had done a probe, they had done an internal finding, and they had communicated with various authorities, and therefore maybe at that time, and I think it is unfair to second guess a chairman who is now no longer there. I would rather look at the positive thing, that the institution is strong, and all the actions which are now being taken are going to result in further strengthening of ICICI as an institution. All of us have been either clients or have done work with ICICI, and we would like to see that a great institution like this becomes stronger and takes its rightful position in the minds of people.
Fair point indeed. Swami, I'll come to you. Assuming these charges are true, and of course we don't want to discuss the culpability of a chairman who's retired, who's not here to defend himself, but assuming these charges are true, what about the culpability of then chairman and other board members? I mean, there seems to be, proactive measures being taken now, but that board was perhaps too eager to give her a clean chit. And they did.
If it is shown that the company was guilty of misstatements, of some things which may be even criminal, then without doubt the members of the board would be accountable. Then you cannot just pin everything on Chanda Kochhar. You cannot pin on everything. I mean, there were what was the board doing? If it is the case that there were criminal misstatements, if it is the case that there were criminal hidings of various things, or criminal deals to give loans to dubious parties, if any of this comes out, then I think the culpability will spread far beyond Chanda Kochhar. It would certainly include members of the board and the chairman. But as I said, let's not jump the gun. At this point of time, we don't know what the verdict is going to be. So I would be reluctant to get into discussing the worst case scenarios. I do not know that the worst case will turn out to be true. Let us wait and see.
So Gopalan, what about the role of the regulator? How could RBI not have been able to detect gold plating of NPAs to the tune of $1.3 billion?
Well, that is an area where we need to discuss this little further. RBI conducts, its inspections. It does its, as a regulator, it acts in its own way. But I am also a little surprised on two things. One is, of course, you would also say that, what had happened to PNB? RBI was looking into, was doing the examination, and what happened to that? So one may also say that, same thing as far as ICICI is concerned. I wouldn't, say that, is it RBI has to beef up its ability to do further, the ability to inspect, banks, because the banks branches have become more in number, systems are not really, fully in place. So in what manner RBI should redouble its manpower or its ability to do inspections of banks is one issue. The second issue in this is that when this matter came to public domain and a lot of things were being talked about, I thought the regulator could have acted little faster. Now they are looking into 31 accounts and 55 accounts and those kind of things is fine, but even in the case of when these things came up, when Chanda Kochhar was very much there, I think as a regulator they could have acted little faster or little in a more effective way. This is what I would believe at this point in time. Once again, with all the information on the hindsight available to me at this point in time.
Fair point, and they often say hindsight is 20/20. But Mr. Shailesh Haribhakti, underreporting of NPAs is not unique to ICICI Bank. There have been several instances in both public and private sector banks where this menace has taken place. Is there a case for RBI then to crack the whip, considering the risk that exists to the system on account of underreporting?
I think RBI has already shown its hand. Its circular of Feb 12th, 18 clearly indicates that there is a lack of tolerance to anything which is not paid on time. And I can share with you my personal experience that the best time to collect a debt is on the day that it is due. And therefore, I think the whole system is closing in on the idea that nobody should take any license with a debt that has been contracted in good faith and must make all efforts to repay it on time. And this is the big lesson that is coming out of all the processes that we have seen afoot over the last few months. Nobody will dare to do evergreening. Nobody will dare to even use words like gold plating and all of that we've been used to associating with NPAs. And there will be a far cleaner lending and borrowing environment which will give rise to genuine support for business growth, particularly of the small and medium types. The bigger boys will have to access the markets with full disclosure, with great governance, and with making sure that the people to whom they are reaching out directly can place their faith in the transparent way in which they are producing their accounts and talking about their story. This is the big thing that is coming out of all the processes that we have seen.
That's a very good point you're making. If that indeed is the case, then, it's a price worth paying if it entails such a systemic cleanup. But Swami, do you agree with Shailesh Haribhakti there? And if I may add to that, on the one hand, there is this need for a sort of system-wide crackdown. On the other hand, the confidence in the banking system itself is slowly eroding. I mean, corporate lending has come to a grinding halt. Bankers have turned very wary. We've seen PSU bankers just not lend to corporates anymore. How does one strike a balance here?
Well, you're right. A balance has to be struck. But I do not think we have reached the point where corporates are dying to borrow and are being unable to get the money. By and large, finance, either directly from the markets or from banks, has been coming from that part of the corporate sector which is wanting the money. So as of this point, we have not reached the crisis that you are describing. But could this happen 6 months down the line? Yes, it could happen 6 months down the line. In other words, we need to have a fairly quick query into this ICICI thing and settle it. It shouldn't be like a sword of Damocles hanging over the head of the entire banking industry to the point where paralysis becomes the rules. We certainly need a cleaning up, we need an improvement. For that, we need some fairly quick reports of these probes, followed by quick action, followed by an improvement in governance and rules and in lending. We do need all of those to go together.
Indeed. Hold a thought, because I'm going to get a quick last word to Mr. R. Gopalan there. And Mr. Gopalan, ICICI Bank is considered too big to fail. So what can the board, the regulator, RBI and the government here do now to restore the confidence of investors, the depositors and the financial system at large?
Well, as Mr. Swami mentioned, you should ensure that the reports or the probes are completed in quick time, completed in a exhaustive manner, but in quick time, and based on the reports, action is taken, and those who need to be punished, they are punished, and based on what the the enquiry reports, systems have to be built in, and the board will have to really improve its governance system procedures in a way which brings in lot more confidence in the minds of public. This is too big a bank to fail, as has been nomenclatured as it has been done, and therefore all Mr. Swami mentioned have to be done in that particular order, but very efficiently it has got to be done and transparently informed to public at every point in time, so that the faith of the public in the banking system gets restored in full.
Last word then, we keep talking of confidence building measures in regards to India-Pakistan relations, but what would be your top confidence building measure with regards to this entire ICICI Bank controversy and to restore the credibility of the banking system? Swami?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Well, I would simply say that if you see the stock market reaction, I do.
I mean, we can hear you.
You know, there is no collapse yet. It is not that investors are not fleeing ICICI Bank. So as of now, I don't see that there is a huge collapse or, you know, the confidence of the public has evaporated. I think the public is still waiting and watching. And until we get to the point of that kind of crisis, I mean, if the price halves or the price falls by 30%, 40%, then, you know, you have to say, what do we do with this collapse of public confidence? At this point of time, I don't think confidence has evaporated. There has been some correction in the prices. There have been some serious questions asked, which of course should be asked. There has been a correction, which there should have been. But I don't think we have got to the stage where you can say that the public has lost confidence in the bank.
Yes, the public perhaps clearly hasn't lost confidence in the bank just yet. Swaminathan Iyer, R. Gopalan, Shailesh Haribhakti, appreciate you taking the time out and joining us on this leg of the India development debate. It's too early to pass judgment. It's unfair to sort of, charge people without investigations getting completed. What we need is a credible investigation, one that satisfies everyone. We need to get to the bottom of this. This is not an issue that can be brushed under the carpet. That would be most unfortunate, really, given the stakes involved. But as far as the banking system is concerned, it's important to keep the faith.
Indeed. On that note, completely out of time on this edition of the India Development Debate. Thanks very much for being with us.